That's right. Who am I? I am a champion. I'm a champion because I've been forged by the heat and pressures that life has presented. I'm a champion because I've had the will to fight beyond any and all discomfort that has come my way. I am a champion because I was born to be great. I'm a champion because I value the person that I am. I'm a champion because my family deserves me to be a champion. Who am I? I'm a champion because God is a champion that's in me. And if God is in me, then that is what I will be. It is good to see everybody here today. And I want to thank APS, Principal Myers, and Superintendent Evans for allowing me this opportunity to speak to you and share some of the events that has taken place in my life that has forged me to be the person that I am today. Some of my experiences, I'm sure, will sound familiar to you. Some of you may hear similarities between my journey and your journey. But when we leave here today, I want all of you to understand, and yes, even believe one important point. I want you all to understand that whether you believe it today, yesterday, or tomorrow, that each and every one of you are champions. Each of you were born to achieve greatness. Some of you might already understand that, but some of you have yet to come to understand exactly the powers that you possess as champions. I look over the room and see each one of you, and I see the possibilities that you have and that you were born with. I see myself in many of your eyes, and I stand before you at this stage in my life, having experienced many challenges. Some of those challenges, many of you have already faced, and some of you will possibly face the same type of things in your lives. So yes, if you see me standing before you, apparently financially successful, I didn't get to this point in my life without coming through stressful and trying events. I'm here to share my journey with some of you and some of the things that has forged me into the champion that I've become today. I want to share these experiences with you because it's my desire to reinforce the greatness that each one of you have in yourselves. Now, as you navigate your way through life, you'll come face to face with what appears to be devastating circumstances. Some of those circumstances may be unavoidable, but it's the decision that you're going to make about how to handle those circumstances. Those are the things that will determine how your life will turn out. And it will also determine your success in life. Now, again, each of you have been born to be champions in life, and I believe that there are certain negative forces that each of us will face. Those negative forces are going to test your will and determination to be great. The question is, are you hard enough mentally and physically disciplined to overcome that adversity? You know, it's a fact that diamonds are the hardest substance known to us on this planet Earth. Diamonds are made and forged under great pressure and heat. Now, the diamonds that we all know about come from what is known as carbon crystals. But those crystals must go through the process of extreme heat and extreme pressure before they turn into the precious stones that we know them to be. To be a champion in life, you will go through some things that will forge you into the champions you were born to be. Each crisis event you overcome will build the foundation for you to endure tougher events along the path and journey of your life. Don't shy away from these events or circumstances. Accept the challenge and decide how to best overcome that challenge. I, like many other people, have a unique life story. The things I'm going to share a few things with you today that are not simple things that I've had to go through. No, what I share with you are tried and true life experiences that have forged me to be the champion that I am. As an example, when I was a high school student, I was a very good athlete. I wasn't the biggest guy, as you can see here, but I was better than probably 80 to 85% of the guys at my high school. During that time, I attended Thomas Jefferson High School. I was bused out of my community for about a 45-minute ride on a good day with traffic being good. I was excited to get to high school because I looked forward to playing on the high school football team and basketball team. But suddenly and quickly, I came face to face with the reality that the coaches, much like the coaches in the movie Remember the Titan, I don't know if any of you remember that movie where Denzel Washington was the coach and he was made the head coach of the team that he had to blend together to make them a good football team and become champions. Well, like that movie, Remember the Titans, my high school was the same situation where there was a select group of kids that lived near the school and their parents were big supporters financially of the football program or whatever athletic program their kids participated in. Then there was another group of kids that came from other communities, and those kids were well known because they played and gained a reputation of being really good athletes because they played for select football, basketball, baseball programs throughout the city of Denver, Colorado. I didn't come from a well-to-do family that lived near the high school, and I didn't play on those well-known city teams that would alert the coaches of my abilities. So a long story short, I watched people who I played pickup games with in gym class and in the streets of Denver and fields where, you know, different city blocks would get together and play other city blocks, and whether it's football or basketball. Well, I watched many of those kids go on to play a lot of athletics in high school. While I watched them play and live out their dreams of being high school athletes, I stood on the sideline, week after week, game after game, year after year. I practiced and did everything I could to show these coaches that I could play and help the team win. But I still was never given an opportunity to get on the field and participate. Now, as a 15, 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid, I had a fragile mindset. And eventually that fragile mindset got in my way. What I hated the most was going to school week after week, hearing my friends ask me, why didn't you get to play? Why don't you play? And at the same time, there's a good group of people that also want to stand up and say he didn't play because he can't play. He's terrible. He's sorry. He can't help the team. I don't even know why he's out there. Now again, the mindset of a teenager, having all that being said in front of all the pretty girls, it was embarrassing. It was hard to overcome. So eventually, even those girls started thinking, well, John just isn't good enough to participate. He's out for the team, but he's not a real good athlete. During my junior year, the same thing just continued to happen, and I was determined to be the very best scout team player that I could be. Now, if you're familiar with football, you have a scout team that gives the players that are playing for the team a look at what the opponents they're going to play that week do. So if they were defensive players, you would run all the offensive plays that you would see from film of the other high school that you're about to compete against, and vice versa. For the offense, you would run their defense. So the only way for the coaches and everybody to see what type of player I was, I made sure I was the very best scout team player I could be. Year after year, returning kickoffs, returning punts, playing cornerback and safety, wide receiver, running back. I'm doing all these things on the scout team and making a lot of good plays against our best players. But for some reason, the coaches still did not allow me to play. At the end of my junior year, before the team went to the playoffs, I was informed that the coaches were going to allow me to be on the playoff travel squad, which was a surprise to me. And eventually, when we lost in the playoff game that year, I was allowed to participate. I was finally on the field for a total of 3 plays. That's right. Those were the only 3 plays that I played in my entire high school year. At the end of school, I graduated, had no idea what I was going to do with the rest of my life. I had no hope of getting any opportunity to play any type of sports because I never really played any sport in high school. You got to understand, at that time, you had a head coach for the football team. Well, the head basketball coach was an assistant coach for the football team. The head track coach was also one of the assistant football coaches. So the same guys that they selected and they let play on the football team were the guys they considered the best players and the best athletes that they would let play on the basketball team and the baseball team and so on. I had very little hope for life after high school other than going to the military or simply getting a job. But I loved sports so much. I really wanted to go to college, and I'd even fantasized about being a college athlete. Now, isn't that crazy? Here is a kid that played 3 plays in his entire high school years, believing that he could go to a college and play at the college level when he could not even play at the high school level. Who thinks like that? I didn't have any money to go to college. My father told me that he wasn't paying anything for me to go to college. If I wanted to go to college, I'd have to find my own way to make it happen. So I started in the spring of my senior year working at McDonald's in April of that year, maybe a month or 2 months before we graduated. And I decided that somehow I would save every paycheck I got working at McDonald's and find a way to fund my college education. So for the next 16 months, I did exactly that. During that time, I started researching the different universities in the state I lived in to figure out which school offered me an opportunity to first afford to go to that school, and second, an opportunity to participate in athletics. After I did the research and was shocked to see the cost of going to college, I knew I was in trouble. I didn't know how I was going to make it happen, but I knew I didn't have enough money, or I couldn't earn enough money to pay for my own college education. But faith, as you know, is a belief that you can achieve something that you can't see it and you can't touch it. You're believing in something that you can only see in your mind, that you have the belief that it's going to take place. So I had faith in my ability, and I was determined to accomplish the unthinkable. Not one person in my family attended college, and I was the youngest member of my family. College was something some of my cousins did, but it pretty much in our house everyone thought that was something everyone else did. It was the champion in myself, attached with the faith I had that something good would happen as a result of the work I put forth. You know, there's a Bible verse in James that says faith by itself, if it doesn't have work, is dead. So I made sure I put in the work that would go along with my faith that something good would happen. My faith in myself forced me to continue with my dream. I searched the newspapers at all the state universities that I could afford to pay for, and the thought came to my mind, yes, John, you're going to have to somehow earn a scholarship if you want to attend college. It didn't matter that I only played 3 plays in high school. I had that inner belief. I went and visited some of the state universities following the following spring after my high school graduation. I've been working nearly a year now, and it was time to decide which school would be the one that best provided me with the opportunity that I needed. I decided to attend the University of Southern Colorado, which is now known as CSU Pueblo. I had saved enough money to pay for 1 semester of college and 1 semester of room and board. So I had enough money for tuition and fees, room and board, which means I would stay in the dormitory and I would have a meal plan to eat at least 2 meals every day in the cafeteria. It was clear to me that in that 1 semester, I would have to earn a scholarship in 1 of 2 sports. The first sport of the year was football. The second sport of the year began in November, which was basketball. So I contacted the football coach during a visit to the school in the spring, and I was told that I would be given an opportunity to try out for the team as a walk-on during the fall semester. So I arrived on the campus the last week of August that school year and began attending classes. And I also went to the tryout for the walk-ons, where the coaches made everyone do specific drills. Yeah, you know, they made us lift weights. They made us lift weights and do agility drills. They charted everything that we did. I was one of the fastest runners in the sprints, possibly the fastest. But they did not tell everyone the results. But as all the people, it was probably 60 guys out there, they would watch what every other person was doing because they wanted to kind of gauge how they did based on what they were seeing. Finally, after all the weightlifting drills was done and the 40-yard dashes and agility drills were done, they had all the players that were walk-ons trying out sit in the bleachers. We finished watching like the last 15 to 20 minutes of the regular team's practice. And once that practice ended, they sent the football team up this hill because they worked, the workout facility was down a hill from where the gymnasium was. They sent the team up the hill, and the coaches came over to all the walk-ons that were sitting in the bench, and they started to talk to us about what it took to be a college football player. One of the things that they kept talking about was the physical fitness and the desire to never quit as important factors and things that each college football player needed. The coach said the last test of the day would be broken into groups based on our position. So you had running backs, defensive backs, wide receivers in one group. Then you had linemen in another group. Then you had linebackers and specialty like kickers and that kind of thing in another group. The coaches told everyone we would be required to run a 400-meter run in a specific time frame based on our positions. If you could not make that time, you were off the team. Those players could either make the time that was stated by the coaches, or they were just instantly off the team. My group of backs and receivers was up first, and I had no problem running, so I decided I would just run leading the pack as long as I could. I never really ran a 400-meter dash, so I just said, let's get out front and stay out front as long as you can. At the 200-meter mark, one guy passed me, which surprised me, so I decided I would just stay close and everything should be fine. As we cross the finish line, there's always a couple of coaches near the finish line yelling out the times. That's how you knew if you crossed the line or you finished in the allowable time for your group. I'm pretty sure as myself and the one guy that was just ahead of me crossed the finish line, the coaches yelled out 53 seconds. And I believe we had something like 59 seconds to make it in. I recall watching many of the guys that didn't finish in the required time walk up the hill because they were disappointed and dismissed from the team. Each position group finished their run, and those that made the time was told to sit back in the bleachers. Those people that didn't make the time, as you can imagine, they felt pretty bad and grabbed their gear and walked up the hill. I remember all of the guys that had made their time sitting in the bleachers, many smiling, high-fiving each other, feeling pretty good about ourselves. I felt pretty good about myself, and I smiled as well. After the last group finished running their first 400, the coach came and started talking to us about what we had to do and how far we had come. He had everyone look over and watch the guys that were leaving the field that did not make their original time. He began reminding us that as walk-ons, we had to be tough. He said that college football players had to have a higher pain threshold than ordinary people, and we had to remember that. He also said that football was a game that was always challenging mentally and physically. And we had to be mentally strong and tough, as well as being physically tough. Then he asked, how bad do you guys want to be a part of this program? And as you can imagine, many of the guys started yelling and screaming, Coach, I want to be there. I'm a part of the team, Coach. I want this, Coach. We want to be a part of this team. I remember looking around at many of them. Some were very animated about what they wanted to do. The coach said, well, I'm glad to hear that, because now we are going to run another 400-meter dash, and all of you must make it in the required time again. And if you do not make it, you are off this team. You could have saw the looks on everybody's faces, the surprise, the uncertainty, the concern. Even I'm sure, wasn't sure because I was tired, my body ached, I was sore, I was kind of tight now because I've been sitting there probably for about 15 minutes. It's late in the afternoon, evening. At that time, it was probably closer to 6 o'clock. And the coach began to say, hey, this is a tough sport. And he said, and I understand. Why should you try to make it and be even more sore and more tired and not be a part of this team? He said, so I understand, and if you don't want to even try, feel free to go ahead and take it up the hill right now. He said, but for those of you that want to be a part of this program, I need that first group back down here on this track. I could not believe it, but some of the guys decided on their own not to even try to run the second 400-meter dash. Then there were some guys that let others talk them into walking off without trying as well. I knew I had no choice but to run that second 400 meters, which I did, and I made it into time. I look back at myself at this point because I said, the faith that I had in myself allowed me to put in the work, the training, months before I even went down to the school, that got me in the physical shape that allowed me to be able to run that second 400 meters and make it in under the 58 seconds again and be a part of the football program. I understood in that moment, I could have made a decision that would have changed my life forever. Those people that quit and walked out on an opportunity that was given to them, and they would never know what they could have achieved had they just given it an effort. My decision to continue allowed me to become the first member of my family to graduate from college, the first member of my family to go 4 years and get a bachelor's degree at an institution of higher education. Little did I know that decision to run that second 400 meters would allow me to go on to not only be a part of the football program, but to become an All-American in college football and an opportunity to sign multiple contracts with the NFL. We all have decisions, and if we have a champion in us and we believe in that championship quality, we will always make the right decision and the right selection of choices to give ourselves the best opportunity at life. As a football coach in high school and as a track and field coach in high school, I always wanted my athletes to understand who they were and what they were capable of. They were champions every day, all day, and in every way. And I would repeatedly tell them and ask them to repeat, they are champions. I would ask them, who am I? And they would respond during their workouts, I am a champion. Why? Because when things were tough, when you're tired, when you're sore, you have to have positive self-talk. You have to reinsure in your own mind who you are. You are a great champion. Having that mindset prepares you for the challenges that you'll face in life, not just athletics, but the life experiences that many of you will go through. I was blessed to build a successful business model. I was equipped to overcome a variety of obstacles over the many years that business people face. I've seen many business people start their business and they end up closing that same business because they're not willing to overcome the many challenges that they'll face. People will look at the way you live your life and they think how nice it is to have and own your own business. But what they don't see is the hard work that you put in. They don't see that you're up many times, all hours of the night, getting things done that other people aren't willing to do. They didn't see that I worked 7 days a week for over a 10-year period just to build my business into the success that it has become. Just like the guys who thought they wanted to play college football, everyone wants what looks and sounds good until it's time to put in the hard work, energy, and effort to be successful. Now, the foundation I spent decades building as a community leader and a person of high moral character and a champion was tested one day when I was falsely accused with one of my businesses of insurance fraud by the Colorado Attorney General, Mr. Phil Weiser. I had invested in a dental business some years back, and after 10 years of the business operating, I began receiving passive income as a primary and lone remaining investor. My partner in the dental business was a dentist who had passed away a few years earlier, and he had advised me to allow the business to continue on. He advised me of doing that because we had hired dentists to perform all the needed day-to-day work, the dentistry part. We had hired a staff with an office manager that took care of the day-to-day operations of the dental clinic. And as the years passed, the clinic continued to operate. Everything appeared to be fine, and it was a successful business. I received really good money because the business was operating well. Then I received a call one morning from the office manager saying that investigators had come to the clinic demanding to review some of the patient files. I didn't see anything wrong with that, and I didn't have any idea anything was wrong, so I said, let them see whatever they need to see. 2 years after that date, I received a call informing me that the Colorado Attorney General's office was investigating the clinic, and I agreed to meet and speak with their investigators and was told that the clinic had received over $400,000 during a 3-year period of time in fraudulent dental claims. I was asked if I knew anything about it, and I said no. I informed them that I had a very good staff that handled the day-to-day operations, and I found it hard to believe that anyone would have done anything like that intentionally. A few months later, I was arrested and charged as the owner of that dental clinic with insurance fraud. I was told that the investigator thought the home that I and my family lived in was too nice for us to be able to afford. He said that the only way I could afford a home like that was to be involved in criminal conduct. Now, the investigator for the Colorado Attorney General's office was a man named Gary Garcia. He didn't understand he was dealing with a person who had forged himself through the fires and pressures of life and had undergone the same type of heat and pressure that creates diamonds. He did not understand that I had learned many years earlier to put in the hard work that most people would never be willing to do. Investigator Garcia never understood who I was as a person, and his preconceived ideas about me were horribly misplaced. the full weight and power of the Colorado Attorney General's office was activated against me. They got the headlines they wanted, although they knew they had no evidence that I had done anything wrong or anything to break the law. I stood before the community and the thousands of people who knew me and my family, publicly embarrassed by the false accusations and unable to fight back because defense attorneys were adamant that no public statements be made until there was a trial. I had to reach deep into my core beliefs of who I was and decided that I could do that and move forward. I knew I was innocent, and I believe the Colorado Attorney General office knew I was innocent as well. I was told I was charged because they thought I was the only person they could possibly receive financial returns for any of the funds that may have been received by the dental clinic fraudulently. Well, I gathered my family together the night I was charged and told them what I knew. I had to apologize because I know it was an embarrassing moment that every one of us had to go through. But it was happening not because I had done anything wrong, but it was out of my control. I told my family we know who we were and what we represented. I said, as embarrassing as it is, we need to understand who I am and what our family values are. Then go about our day-to-day business with our heads held high as always. The Colorado Attorney General's office pressed and said they wanted to put me in prison for 12 years. And the only way to avoid it was to plead guilty and pay them $400,000. I was truly concerned because I understood how the legal system works in America. The Colorado Attorney General's office plan was to get people to dislike me based on the amount of income that I had, the house that I owned, the value of that house, and the standard of living that my family and I had. They felt that people would not appreciate that I could be successful as a businessman legally, so they wanted to try to discredit me. I had decided once again, what was I willing to go through to preserve my reputation? What was I willing to risk proving I was a person of high character? The easy thing to do would have been to accept what they said and take their plea and pay them money. But I knew that would ruin my reputation forever, and I shouldn't be responsible to pay money to anyone when it's money that I never received. So, would I stand up as a champion I thought I was? Or would I fold under the pressure and the weight that the Colorado Attorney General's office could put down against me and my family? Oh yeah, let's be very clear. I was afraid of the prospect of going to prison. But I also knew what they said about me was not true, and I made the decision. Nobody, not even Phil Weiser in the Colorado Attorney General's office, nor his investigator, Gary Garcia, could destroy what I spent a lifetime building. I am a champion in life, not just in business, not just in coaching. I'm a champion every day, all day, in every way. For the next 2 years of my life, I was crippled financially. My businesses suffered. Why? Because all this was in the news and a lot of people didn't know whether they could trust me or not. But win, lose, or drew, I stood up to the most powerful judicial office in the state of Colorado, whose mission was to put me in prison because in their mind, I just couldn't be as successful as I was by doing things the right way legally. Phil Weiser and Gary Garcia didn't know what type of person they had falsely accused of a crime. They thought they could scare me, a champion, beyond their understanding into submitting to their will. A champion may be beaten, but a champion never submits to the will of anyone other than God himself. So life prepares you for obstacles that come and that you might face. Many of you may face false accusations. Many of you will be talked about. Many of you will be afraid and wonder if you can overcome. I'm here to tell you, each and every one of you can accomplish any goal you set in mind. Stand up, believe in yourself, and understand you are champions. When you come face to face with the moment, you recognize and look in the mirror and tell yourself that you're a champion. Ask yourself, who am I? Your response should be, I am a champion. Again, I'm a champion because I've been forged by the heat and pressures of life to make me the champion that I am. I am a champion because I have the will to fight beyond any discomfort to achieve my goal. I am a champion because I was born to be great. I am a champion because I value exactly who I am and what I put in to be a champion. I am a champion because my family deserves me to be the champion that I am. Most importantly, I am a champion because God is in me and God is the champion that has made me. And as long as God is making me the champion that I am, then that's the champion that I will stay and always be. I have overcome many obstacles during my lifetime. It is those events that allow me to share my thoughts and life lessons with you. You were all born to be great. So you all stand on the principles and values of who you are and believe in yourself. But you must always believe that you can achieve the purpose that you were born to be. Again, I thank you for this opportunity to speak with you and share a few of my events in life. I hope that you all understand the greatness that each of you have and understand. Keep putting in the work. Overcome the challenges and obstacles that are put in front of you. And you will all rise to the top and live up to the dreams and hopes and most importantly, the purpose that you have in life. You were born for greatness. Continue to be great. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.